Who was Valiant Thor? When I looked at the name again this time, Valiant Thor, I immediately thought of Thor. Gina, you didn't think of Thor. Yeah, I did think of Thor. But who was Valiant Thor? The stranger that ended up in the Pentagon, according to some. And was Valiant Thor really from Venus? And why did he come to Earth? Why did Valiant Thor come to Earth? And did he really exist? Hello, Applebrooks Honey and Danny Brandy. Hello, you all. See, I can get those names out. I can get the names out there, you all, if I look. I really can. Let me come on over here. Oh my goodness gracious. Hello. I'm a little late because I spent time with my daughter today hiking, and then I spent time with my son, and he said, "You're going to be late for your YouTube." I said, "It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll get there when I get there." So that's, yeah, spending time with my children. It's perfect, you all. That's right. I make the most of my day, and that's good. It's good to make the most of your time. It really is. Let me, what was I trying to do, you all, before I got myself so distracted? Gina, you don't know. No, I don't. I got too distracted. I really did. Way too distracted. Let me move this over here, you all. Trying to get my microphone in the right place. I can't really type on here with it over here. Valiant Thor. Yes, Valiant Thor. You know, I never heard of him until around 2018. That's the last time I heard of him. Thor. Who was that Thor guy and the Thor's hammer? Thor. Yes, now we got the Thor right here. This is the other Thor. Thor's fight with the giants. See, that's the other Thor right here. Wow, I didn't know he fought the giants. He fought the giants on Earth? That's really interesting. Thor's fight with the giants. Let me close this one out. This is Thor was a prominent god in Germanic paganism and Norse mythology. He's a hammer-wielding god associated with the lightning, thunder, and storms, and sacred groves and trees, and strength, and the protection of humankind, hallowing, and fertility. So we got that Thor. We do. But then we have this Thor right here. Valiant Thor. The stranger in the Pentagon, or at the Pentagon. Yes, giants found all over Kentucky, but this is not supposed to be the same Thor. This is supposed to be the Valiant Thor, the visitor from somewhere that came. Valiant Thor, the extraterrestrial who lived and advised the Pentagon for years in the 1950s. And he met with Eisenhower, as well as the vice president at the time, Richard Nixon, to warn something. But what was he trying to warn? I thought that, who was it in the 50s that they made a deal with Eisenhower? And it was supposed to be the tall whites. Remember that? There was a video that we did, the tall whites making a deal with Eisenhower. It was like, I guess sometime last week. We do so many videos. It's okay. This is February the 24th, 2022, and I guess it had a redone October the 21st of 2022. If you're just tuning in, welcome. Yeah. So the first mention of Valiant Thor appeared in the book Stranger in the Pentagon. Dr. Frank Strange, which was presented to readers in 1967. The writer-preacher, who was engaged in the study of UFOs, claimed that in 1958 he got his hands on pictures of an alien allegedly flew in from Venus. He presented them as real proof of the existence of other civilizations at sermons in his evangelistic centers. Let me look at that, you all. The alien who flew in from Venus. Do you remember this woman? Well, I've never heard of this woman. We're going to look at these links that they've put right here. Oh yeah, let me address this, Danny, honey. If you come, let me get this out of the way. If you come in this chat, let me turn on the light. Let me give you some light. If you come in this chat and you start becoming disrespectful and you're not kind and considerate, if I see it after you've been warned and you get some times out, I will personally, I'll block you. Okay, I will block you. I am not on here to play. Okay, I'm not. We're on here to have fun and be respectful and learn. Okay, we are. Don't you be doing disrespecting, because I don't play that game. I don't. I never have played that game. I'm not a player. Now, where was I? Thank you, Danny, honey. We can do it. We can do it, you all. I'm not afraid of doing it. I'm not. Now, Gina, how can you laugh? It is silly. This is silly. Do you remember Dolores Barrios, the woman from the planet Venus? So first we have this guy right here, Valiant Thor. He's supposed to be from Venus, right there. And now we got Dolores Barrios, the woman from the planet Venus. I've never heard of her. Her features resembled the description of the claimed aliens that came from Venus and walked among us. But were they the tall whites? During a UFO convention 7 years after the Roswell crash incident. So if Roswell was in 1947, and we add 7 to that, so we get around 54. That's what we get, 1954. And that's about around the same time frames. It was in the 50s when, I guess, he came. See? Claimed that in 1958 he got his hands on pictures of Valiant Thor right there. Venus is in retrograde astrologically right now. Amy Gill, honey, I hope it's good for us. I really do. Let's look at this woman. During the UFO convention, 7 years after the Roswell, they claimed they found an alien from Venus arrived to learn what we knew about them. So let's see this woman, the case of Dolores Barrios. They got the hats. Why? Is this when those hats started first coming out? The paper hats that you would put on your head. You make it with the newspaper. Just like that. Oh, let me look at that. Barbara Vale. The Valiant Thor looks like a young President Bush, and you vomit when you say that. Well, don't choke on your vomit. We can't be having you do that. We cannot. Let's look over there and see what he looks like. I want to see. Well, maybe. That's right. Maybe. That's okay. We're going to read about Thor, Valiant Thor first, and then we're going to look at that Dolores, whoever she is. Okay. Valiant Thor, the alien visitor from the planet Venus. At one of the meetings of Dr. Strange was approached by a Pentagon employee and offered to meet Thor personally. So, was he really from Venus? And why did he come to Earth? Good evening. Look at this. So we got his arrival, him at the Pentagon, meeting with the president. Well, if he's at the Pentagon, well, it'd be nice for him and Sabrina from the Pentagon to meet one another. I wonder how they would interact together. Sabrina and Valiant Thor at the Pentagon. Gina, honey, what are you talking about, Sabrina? We don't know of no Sabrina at the Pentagon. We do know of a Sabrina at the Pentagon. She's one of my favorite persons to look, who does some of the Pentagon briefings. She is this, this is Sabrina from the Pentagon. She is the deputy Pentagon assistant somebody right there. Just looking at Sabrina makes me laugh. She does. She brings back happy memories, you all. And I'm not just saying that. Sabrina. See, I think they turned her into CGI, and that was not very nice of them. But this is Sabrina. Sabrina. They don't do her right, you all. Sometimes she gets scared. Oh, Gina, you got it on you and not her. Okay, this is Sabrina. She could be some type of a life form now. She might used to be real, but it's okay. But look what they did to Sabrina, you all. They turned her into CGI. So, Sabrina, I don't think that you are from Venus. I do not. I don't think she is. But we're not supposed to be talking about Sabrina. Okay, we're not. We're supposed to be talking about Valiant Thor is what we're supposed to be talking about in his arrival. This is what he looks like right there. What if somebody went back and rewrote history, and the only history we know is what they show us, really, like the Mandela effect, how we remember things a certain way, you know? So, Valiant Thor, as he's known to us, has been referenced a few times along with his supposed siblings. He had siblings? From the Howard Menger contactee case from High Bridge, New Jersey in the late 1950s. This is one of the photos taken at a meeting. Val Thor's in the foreground, along with his siblings, Don and Jill, seated next to him. These were supposed to be his siblings right here? Was these the siblings of Val Thor, you all? Did you know that? Because I didn't know that. Yeah. Good evening, Susan Donahue, honey. Yo, I need a drink of water. Let me get a drink of water. Okay, I've got it. I've got my drink of water. So I never knew who these people were. Okay, I didn't. So let's see. He arrived on planet Earth on March the 15th of 1957, and the police officers patrolling the area were the first to find him, and first they saw an alien ship that slowly landed in a field near the city of Alexandria, Virginia. Then a tall man stepped out. He stopped to wait for the police to arrive, and the alien, thought he was a tall man. But now he's called an alien. The alien asked law enforcement officials to arrange a meeting with U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower. When did Admiral Byrd go to Middle Earth? Because if Admiral Byrd was to meet with the leader of Middle Earth, and if that leader sent people up to the surface, could these have been the people, the other types of, human-looking beings? Since some people in Dr. Stephen Greer's thing said that a lot of people were quoted as saying these are interstellar ships that are coming interstellar, or coming from inside the earth and through the ocean. These UFOs. Could these been one of them, really? You may not ever know the whole truth. You may not. So he wanted to speak with Eisenhower. and the police immediately contacted their supervisor, who relayed the stranger's request. So he's been called a tall man, he's been called an alien, and now he has been called a stranger. He's been given 3 different names in this whole entire, Gina, that's just okay. The agents for the National Security Service arrived at the landing site of the alien ship. They took the man, now he has become a man, to the Pentagon, and he introduced himself as Valiant Thor. That day, the alien made fun of the entire Pentagon security system. He easily bypassed it using only telekinesis. Thor used telepathy to communicate with the commander of the U.S. Navy. He was then introduced to Secretary of Defense Charles Wilson. I wonder what he looked like. Secretary of Defense Charles Wilson. I know this would be a long time ago. I guess this is him. Secretary of the Defense Charles Wilson. Okay, this looks kind of like, is this Eisenhower? Maybe. I wonder if they got a picture of him with Thor. Valiant Thor. Some say this was Valiant Thor, the alien that lived at the Pentagon. They say it was somebody else. Now, that would be a tall white right there, you all. That really would be a tall white that it is said to be running the United States of America. The tall whites. But then you've got this picture of Valiant Thor. The one that there's 2 actual pictures. So you've got him at a different angle right here. So which one is the real one? Which one would be the real Valiant Thor? The stranger from the Pentagon. Dr. Frank Strange. Stranges, these names are very strange. Let's get on to it, you all. Danny Lovin' Honey, how can we go out and check the moon during this live stream? I think the moon here is probably way beyond the tree line for me to even see it now. Valiant Thor at the Pentagon. Valiant said that he flew to the planet Earth from Venus on the ship Victor 1. At home, he is a member of the Council 12. The Council of 12. Have you heard of the Council of 12? Representatives of other worlds who often turn to him for help. It helps to find solutions to the problems. Therefore, Thor is sometimes sent to different parts of the universe. But this main task is to maintain order in the Milky Way. So he came to Earth in order to deal with the problem of the increasing stocks of nuclear weapons. I thought the one that Admiral Byrd went to visit, the leader of Middle Earth, didn't like the nuclear weapons. And maybe somebody came from the surface from there. But that's okay, you all. Which in the event of war, it can lead to a catastrophe on the universal scale. So the leader of Middle Earth did not want their Earth destroyed because they live on the Earth too. I wonder if they've got 2 stories mixed into just one. The Pentagon staff tried to find out more information about the alien civilizations from Thor in various ways, but they could not achieve their goal. They tried to inject Valiant with a special substance that was supposed to bring him to the surface, but during the injection, the needle broke. After that, Thor got very angry, and he said that if someone else decided to approach him with such experiments, he would regret it very much. After that, he disappeared. Then he met with the president. Thor handed the President Eisenhower a recording of the High Council leader's address. They offered the Earthlings access to new technologies and help in the spiritual development in exchange for stopping the production of nuclear weapons. And the president could not persuade the generals in charge of the defense to stop developing the new weapons. Then the head of the state granted Thor a special VIP status for a period of 3 years. During this time, he could meet and communicate with various high-ranking individuals to prevent nuclear war. We're still going through the same thing. But we ain't hearing no talk about the visitors or aliens or beings. It's still about the nuclear war threat. It is believed that Valiant Thor was also involved in several secret projects, one of which was the construction of underground military bases, including Area 51. Why would Valiant Thor be involved in the building of the underground military bases? Now, I thought that was the reptilians who, helped did that. The underground bases but why would he be doing it? You see, this is really strange. It really is when you hear the Majestic 12, Susan Donahue. Yes, that's right. The features of the stranger. There he sits, right there. From left to right, women and the man next to her were the ones who gave Howard Miniger, I guess that's supposed to be Valiant Thor's siblings. Isn't that supposed to be his siblings? They gave Howard Miniger and his wife, Rose, the 8 handshake. Man on the left is the man who Howard claimed was a spaceman from the planet Visit. What is the 8-hand handshake? What is an 8-hand handshake? That doesn't even make sense. What is an 8-hand handshake? 8-hand handshake. Well, we're going to see what an 8-hand handshake is. Well, I'm waiting to see it. It's this. 8 hands touching, maybe? You put all your hands together, you think? Would that be an 8-hand handshake? I have no idea. Well, look, you can make a star with your hands if you want to make a star with your fingers. You really could. A group of 8 hands at a circle together. Okay, well, 8-hand handshake. Okay, so Gina, we're talking about Valiant Thor, not his hands, or the hands. According to Dr. Strange, Thor was about 180 centimeters tall and weighed about 85 kilograms. Could somebody convert that to us? 180 centimeters is how many feet? And 85 kilograms is how many pounds? Since we don't really use centimeters over here in the United States, I'm not sure how many centimeters would be equivalent to feet or anything like that. His skin was tan, and his brown hair was slightly curled. His eyes were brown. There were no prints on the alien's fingers or his palms. He was, thank you, Traveling James, 187 pounds. Well, his 180 centimeters tall, not kilometers. How tall would 180 centimeters be? Yeah. He had tan skin, brown hair, slightly curled. His eyes were brown. There were no prints on his fingers or his palms. I guess his skin was completely smooth. Okay, Mickey Martin, honey, look up the Messianic 8-hand handshake. Thor did not have a navel button. He didn't have a belly button. He said he was 490 years old, 5'9". Thank you, Traveling James. 5'9", and he was 490 years old. He very well could have been that old, you all. He really could have. He was fluent in 100 languages. Wow. His IQ was 1,200 points, which is hundreds of times higher than the average person's level of intelligence. He had the ability to appear and disappear at will. Thor could take apart the structure of his body at the molecular level, and he could assemble it elsewhere. Outwardly, the alien was not much different from the humans, except he had 6 fingers on his hands. He also had a huge but light heart, and instead of blood, he had copper oxide. Okay, what's going on here? So, he didn't have a belly button. He was 490 years old. He was fluent in 100 languages. His IQ level was 1,200 points. How many languages do we already have? Wait a second. Let me see the Masonic, Masonic, 8-hand shake. Let's see what that looks like. Or 8-finger. Well, they're doing the 8-finger handshake. Okay, so maybe they mean this right here, right? Maybe you do your hands like that and you do it. Boom. Okay, so we can see that. But we're talking about this 100 languages. 100 languages. How many languages are on the earth? How many languages on earth in 19... Was it 54? How many languages were there? Oh, shoot. Thanks, Gina. I'm trying to see how many languages there were. These were the most spoken languages. Making a prediction of in about 2,100 languages. No, see, I didn't find what I wanted to find. I just wanted to know how many different languages were there. Spoken languages. I can't find it. Why won't they say how many spoken languages there are? And how could he speak 100 different languages? He was fluent in 100 languages. How many languages? How many spoken languages in the world? Let's look at the CIA, you all. What does the CIA say about how many spoken languages there are? We want to find out how many. I just want the number. 240 results. So I would assume, I think it could be safe to assume that, do you think these just happened? Maybe this is including the different dialects right here. It could include the different dialects. You can see all of them, you all. Oh yeah, it's all the countries all around the world. This is how many they say, and I'm sure it's all the different dialects and everything else. Okay, so we got it. That many languages, and I'm sure maybe, was he a form of AI? Could he have been a form of AI, you all, really? But if he's 490 years old, he had to be some kind of a being, a higher evolved being than human beings, really. Think about it. Because he could take his body apart. He could take apart the structure of his body, just like Star Trek, at the molecular level, and assemble it elsewhere. Star Trek transporter. Gina, you left out the thing. Transporter. So Valiant Thor could do his body like this on a molecular level. and his body could show up in a different place. And he was 490 years old. It looked like they turn into light beings. Holograms. Kentucky Mama. That's interesting, isn't it? Eighth dimensional. Traveling James. What is an eighth dimensional being? Let's look at this. Eighth dimensional being. What would they look like? Oh my goodness, my foot is itching. It might eighth dimensional being. It's light body. They got a light body. Ascension. I'm sure we're not going to get very many. Oopsie, it's not that. Probably won't get very many things. Okay, we are a huge upgrade of expanded consciousness, which leads to light. Okay, he took his body apart on a molecular level, if you're just tuning in. And he had 6 fingers. Well, he had a big heart. There are some, if he had 6 fingers, did he have a thumb? Because there are people who have 6 fingers. He's still alive and he's helping underground clean up. Okay, now we've got the evidence of the UFOs. The existence of the Taurus, a Taurus-shaped alien ship. We want to see what that looks like. Because I really don't know what it looks like. But I'd like to know what it looks like. I really would like to know. A Taurus ship. It's a wheel within a wheel. It looks like a wheel on a bicycle. Look at that. Is that a Taurus ship? It is a Taurus ship. Wow. Look at that. Look like spokes on a tire, doesn't it? It's massive. It's like an arc. It's like an International Space Station. Is there something up there in orbit that looks like this also? Could this be like a wheel within a wheel? Hey, that looked like the sun simulator pattern. If you zoom up on the sun, at times you can see this pattern right here. Like a hive, like beehive thing, honeycomb hive. Right there. Yeah. Oh, when 8 people shake hands, it would be 28 handshakes. That'd be a lot of handshakes. It really would be. I want to see. What are we looking up? A something. A Taurus. A Taurus. Well, that's the donut-shaped UFO. That looks like the donut-shaped UFOs that can be seen in the sky at times. If they didn't have a center to them. Okay, so now we got a pretty good concept of what it might look like. But it's not the cigar-shaped first ever interstellar space, first ever interstellar visitor. So, okay, with Dr. Stephen Greer, it wasn't interstellar the people were talking about. It was interplanetary craft. That's what they said they saw. Interplanetary craft coming from inside the Earth, through the volcanoes, through the oceans. And so I was just wondering if he came through there. So there's that one. Let's go to this one. So he claimed to have personally Schneider claimed to personally have met a visitor from Venus who worked for the U.S. government, and he showed photos of the alien and his lectures to look more convincing. He was even called the UFO witness, but in fact, very few people believed in his words, and the picture he presented was dated in 1943, and the Pentagon only found out about Thor, Valiant Thor, in 1957. And they say this was him right here. Could that have been him? He looked like he would be a Nordic alien right here. A tall, white Nordic alien. Would they look like that? This guy right here. He looks like he could be Nordic. He really does. It's a humanoid alien. He could even, this person could even be in, I don't want to say it. In addition, it showed a white-haired man who does not look like Thor from the footage that was leaked by the media in 1958. But Phil assured his audience that he was well acquainted with many of the government's secret projects and said authorities signed the Grenada Agreement with the aliens back in 1954. How could you sign the Grenada Agreement with aliens in 1954? Did you break that thing? The Grenada Agreement. Let me do this. The Grenada Agreement. Let's place it in. Let's read a short version if we can. Oh my gosh. U.S. Grenada Open Skies Agreement. Looks like they've changed it a lot. Air Transport Agreement. Division Home Download Agreement between the government of the United States of America and the governments of Grenada. So who lives in Grenada? It surpassed the trades in goods in $124 million. The 1954 Grenada Treaty between the USA and the alien Greys. Okay. The CIA, members of the CIA have had a conquest and relayed alien events to the American people through the Hollywood movies. Hollywood was the tool to warn the people of the world. Earth versus the flying saucer. So they use Hollywood as their tool to warn us of the people, to warn the people of the world about the aliens. Well, Hollywood's done a really good job with their movies. They have talking about the aliens, the different type of species, and the real scary, demonic-looking beings, and some superpowers, superheroes from outer space. They've been really good at it, you all. Phil also knew that the government had a special device that could cause an earthquake, and those alien beings were about to invade Earth. Schneider claimed that he was one of those who managed to survive the shootout with the aliens. They had a shootout with the aliens, you all? 23 Russian soldiers got turned to stone after an alien attack. The CIA document revealed. What's Gandalf say? Dawn, take you all and be turned to stone. And they turned to stone. The declassified report shows how 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes got out from a crash-landed UFO and attacked the Russian soldiers. This is in 2022. A declassified CIA report revealed that a troop of Russian soldiers somehow managed to shoot down a UFO, and they were turned to stone by the surviving aliens. The declassified report is available at the official website of the UFO of the CIA. Turned to stone, you all. That's some really advanced technology. If you can... His hand fell off. They shot his hand off. Yes, you heard right. We aren't talking about tense scene from an upcoming science fiction movie, but we know, like us, many cannot digest these words as a real matter. For them, the link to the official document is here. According to the set of documents provided by the CIA, the Russian soldiers gunned down an unidentified flying object, and after the craft crash landed, its occupants of otherworldly origin confronted the military, resulting in human soldiers being turned into stone poles. Wow. That is wild. Stone poles. Well, then it's Lot's wife when she was told, don't you all be looking back when you get left there. And she looked back, but she was supposed to have been turned into a pillar of salt. I guess, I don't know. And we've got mountains that are turned to stone that looks like figures of animals and big giants. Remember that? We were looking at them. It looked like real beings, giant beings turned to stone, and snakes and trees turned to stone. I guess they got the technology to do this. This is a classified, attention BBC, Russia International, paper reports allege evidence of a mishap involving UFO. Kyiv. Where is Kyiv? See that word Kyiv? Is that near Ukraine? Kiev. Ukrainian. Ukrainia. Are we talking about Ukraine now? Is that what we're talking about? Ukraine and the aliens now, you all? Is that why there's so much activity going on in Ukraine now? The aliens have been known to be in Ukraine, and now we got this event happening in Ukraine. Kyiv. The Holos Ukraini in Ukrainian 27 March 93 P5 something. Reprint from the newspaper Terpinil Verchany, Cosmic Revenge, the first paragraphs published in boldface. After Mikhail Gorbachev, you all, now we got Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. That's what Ronald Reagan said. Tear down the wall, Mr. Gorbachev. I think we were in Berlin during that time. Yes, we were, because that's when the wall went down in 1991, and we had to leave Berlin. I had my son at the end of 1990, and within 2 months, we had to fly out of Berlin because the wall fell down. Wow, this is really interesting right here. After Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved in 1991, the KGB top secret intelligence administration, a lot of material from that department found their way abroad, in particular to the CIA, as reported by the authoritative magazine, the Canadian Weekly World News. U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but it also has testimonies of actual participants in the events. One of the CIA representatives referred to in this case a horrific picture of revenge on the part of the extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that will make your blood freeze. Now we're talking about Ukraine. The aliens that showed up in Ukraine, and the Russian soldiers fired on them, and the aliens turned them to stone. And this happened around 1991. I was in Berlin, Germany. Me and my husband, my daughter, and my son had just been born. This is in 1990. My husband was a German linguist. He was over there. He had to learn the German language and a little bit of Russian. And he would go up there to the Tempelhof Central Airport, go down there into the tunnels, and he'd have to listen in on phone calls because they're going to spy on East Berlin. And when the wall fell down, his job was, then you could not do that anymore in the military. It was against the law because the two Germanys, they combined again, both Berlins. So my husband had to cross-train, and the war was going on at that time. All the military doctors were like over there in the Middle East at that war. And the armies, all these army wives, their husbands were deployed and stuff. And when they found out that my husband, and me and my husband and my children, we were getting out of there, they said, nobody's leaving Berlin. We're in war. There's no way you're going to be getting out of here. But we got out, and they got so mad. We got out of there in that time frame, Gina. Well, I was over there when it happened. Okay, so I remember it. So we got this Ukrainian stuff going on, and this is what happened. The UFOs came there. They did. They would make your blood freeze. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile, and they hit the UFO. It fell to the earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated that the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that, after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and they merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz around and hiss sharply, and then the object became a brilliant white. The aliens, the 4 aliens with the large head, 5 short aliens, humanoid aliens with large heads and large black eyes, emerged from this flying saucer. And when they freed themselves from the debris, the aliens with the great big heads and big eyes, 5 of them, they came close together and they merged their bodies into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. And that object began to buzz and hiss sharply, and then it became brilliant white. And in a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger, and they exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. And at that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon got turned into stone poles, and only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. This is the CIA document right here. They got turned to stone. Wow. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. A CIA representative stated, if the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technologies that go beyond all our assumptions, and they can stand up for themselves if attacked. So this is, you can see it. 3/27 March. I can't really see the date that well. I don't know. 1952. This is what happened to the soldiers. But, so if that's what happened to the soldiers, you got the big, okay, you got the Stone Army of China. Is this what this is? Did these soldiers get turned to stone right here in China? Remember that? Did the aliens turn these soldiers into stone in China? Right there. After reading that, is this what happened, and is this why all these are standing here like that? They got turned to stone. They could have turned them all to stone. It's like that. Everything got turned to stone by the aliens. The aliens did it. Even the animals got turned to stone. It makes sense. It makes complete sense. The Mongol-China Silk Road. See, come on, you need to roll that down. We need to see it. You quit doing that. He got turned to stone too. Look at that. China's now faking its own terracotta warriors. Well, what if it's not fake? What if they really did get turned to stone? Okay, so that's what we did. This came from Valiant Thor. I'm going to stick this in here. I'm going to stick this link in the live stream so you can click on the thing so you can see it for yourself too, because this is really wild. They have the technology to do that. They really do. So we're on this right here. We clicked into a link and we saw this. The declassified set of documents show how the 23 Russian soldiers were killed by as many as 5 extraterrestrial beings after an alien encounter, after the soldiers gunned them down with a missile, a guided missile. They had guided missiles back then. The declassified documents are now freely available at the official CIA website. There's a 250-page KGB dossier on the alleged attack and eyewitnesses' testimonies. The UFO is said to have appeared during military training in Siberia. And we're talking about Ukraine, is what we're talking about. 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes. They got out. As weird as it sounds, the report states how the UFO was shot down 5 otherworldly beings, turning 23 Russian soldiers into stone pose. It goes on to say that the remains of the petrified soldiers, like the petrified trees. Okay, let's look at the petrified trees. Petrified trees. The aliens did it. They did. Why are you loading so slow? Their technology is really powerful. Look how massive they are. Everything got petrified. Petrified logs. Trees right there. Petrified trees. Yellowstone National Park. With their technology. That's wild. It's really wild. It really makes you think after reading that. It makes me think after reading that. It really does. It's kind of a little bit wild. It's okay. You all, at the end of the report, the CIA agent made a special note. They possess such weapons and technology that go beyond our assumptions. This person was working on the construction of a secret underground base in New Mexico. He witnessed a horrible battle between the aliens and the humanoids. Humans that resulted in 60 dead soldiers and countless subterranean aliens fighting for their life. So you can click on that yourself, you all. You can. Look at this. Phil also knew the government had a special device that could cause an earthquake, and the people who survived the shootout with the aliens. A year after the information was made public, the scientist was found dead in his own apartment. The official cause was suicide, but according to the sources, traces of torture was found on his body. The scientist's death, 11 of his friends died under the same mysterious circumstances. Many UFO researchers are sure that Schneider and his comrades were eliminated by the special forces because they knew too much and they talked too much about it. Hello, everyone. Hello there, Golden Arrow, honey. You all, this is wild. Let's put this right here. You want to hear about the Russian soldiers in the Ukraine? Let's stick it right here in the live stream because we can do it. Ukraine and Kyiv. That's when they shot the guided missile up there in the air. And they shot down the flying saucer. And thank you for those hearts flying up the screen. And 5 alien humanoids with large head and black eyes got out. And after they got from the debris, they merged together and formed a great big sphere, and the sphere got really bright, and then it did something, and then poof, and turned the Russian soldiers to stone. 26 Russian soldiers got turned to stone. Wow, now, and then we got this other woman. She's supposed to be a visitor from Venus too. She was 54. A UFO convention on Mount Palomar, wherever that's at. An unusual presence of strange visitors. Her name was Dolores Barrios. The background of the UFO Convention Center. It was published in the magazine O Cruzeiro. We got George Adamski's. I remember that name, Adamski's. A UFO convention, you all, on Mount Palomar. I don't know where Mount Palomar is at, you all. Let's go see what Mount Palomar. Gina, honey, this is going to be a really live stream, and you're taking way too long. I want to know where Mount Palomar is. Palomar. Oh, it's in Seattle. Oh, okay. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it's got a telescope up there. There must be some significant place. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a great big observatory up there on top of the mountain. Oh, look like that's beings up there in the sky. Look at that. Little cloud beings up here. It looks really pretty. Oh, that's mountain, California beaches. California dream on such a winter's day. Okay, that's Mount Palomar where they had the UFO meeting. San Jacinto, right there. You can see it. Boom. Okay, we're over here with Dolores Palomar. It has an altitude of more than 1,800 meters right here. They got their newspaper hats on. That's all right. The convention was promoted by three of the most famous contactees, George Adamski, Truman Bertram, and Daniel Fry. More than 1,000 people, journalists around the world, FBI agents, UFO witnesses, as well as many curious people attended the event. They all had their own experiences. Adamski's turn was the teacher, explained that the Venetians were very much like humans, so much that they had infiltrated our society and they were living in the big cities. He also presented a painting with an artistic representation of a nation. The unusual presence, and it was her. There was a stir when the audience noticed an unusual presence of a beautiful woman in the company of 2 men. One of the men wore glasses, and they were light-skinned, and the woman had blonde hair, and her eyes were black, and they were intense. She had excessive cranial formation and a strange bone mark on her forehead. Right there she was. Right here. Strange bone mark on her forehead. Okay, it looks like it went straight up. Kind of probably like a Klingon thing. Maybe if the bone mark went straight up on her head between her eyes, you know. Maybe. The Mura da Terra, O de Venus, I can't read it. It looks like it's in Spanish, right here. I don't know, it's kind of hard to read. Let me stick this in here. You all can read about that mystery woman right here. Mystery woman. And she was supposed to be from somewhere. I get myself in trouble, Gina. We're almost done with her. She had peculiar psychic characteristics and protruding bone structure in the middle of her forehead extending from her nasal. Now, wait a minute. How could she have a protruding bone structure in the middle of the forehead extending down to, oh, I thought it said her navel. I thought it said her navel. I was thinking, it's extended. How could it? How could it extend from up here down to her navel? I was trying to picture it. Oh, that's silly. I was trying to picture that. That's so silly, you all. It was down to her nasal. She had deep black eyes with large eyeglasses. I thought it said her navel. I'm tired. When I get tired, I get giggly. Oh my goodness. Their features resembled the description presented hours before the speaker spoke as the type of aliens that came from Venus and walked among us. The rumor in the crowd spread rapidly they were Venetians in disguise. And one of the participants asked them, "Are you or are you not Venetians? Venusians?" The woman, smiling calmly, replied, "No." And that was, "Why are you here? We're interested in the subject. Do you believe in flying saucers?" "Yes." "Is it true what he says?" "Yes, they come from Venus." Her name was Dolores Barrios. And we had a Brazilian journalist, Yawa Martins, interviewed them and researched them. And she was a fashion designer from New York. So we have these people. Aquí está. If you can read Spanish, then you'll know what that says. Right there. Because I have no idea what it says. That's it. Donald Mornaud claimed to be musicians in there. So they didn't want their photograph taken. They were irritated at being called Venusians. And they look a lot like the paintings that was being shown, these people right here. Okay, well, they weren't too happy. Look at this. After the meeting, Martins photographed Dolores using a flash, surprising her. Then he took photos of her two friends in a hurry, and after that, the trio ran to the forest, and soon after, a flying saucer took off, and the witness could not capture the photo. The background of the UFO convention in Palomar, August the 7th and 8th, in the observatory. You can see them looking up there to see if they can see the UFOs, the other planets. This is the guy, Adamski, right there. He was Polish-born American citizen who photographed it and interacted with extraterrestrial aliens, and he met friendly Nordic-like aliens who he called his space brothers. They were from Venus, and they landed their flying saucer in Colorado Desert on November the 20th of 1952, and he had the opportunity to fly in their craft. They presented him with a concerned message about the future of the people on Earth. The use of nuclear weapons and wars could put life on this planet at risk. He explained that they had their intentions and morphological structure was just like human beings with various minor aspects. Their appearance was almost undetected, and they could live among us as unnoticed. So this was a painting of a Venusian called Orthon, right there. There was one right there, you all. Never heard of him. But there are people who draw pictures of them. It's the painting. It was published in 1954. Then, of course, they're going to criticize him and make him look like it never did happen. The day the earth stood still. It debuted in the theaters. Look at that. Wasn't there some type of a military craft that had this on it too, or was it back engineered? Controversies behind it. See, they already had went after him, you all. Every single bit of it. I'm not going to read it all because this is what the woman would have looked like, I guess. They claimed that she was a Cold War spy. That's all right, you all. So the biggest thing about this was the Russian soldiers right here in Ukraine. Let's go down to the top. Are you just tuning in? These Russian soldiers fired a missile at a flying saucer in Kiev, Ukraine, and the aliens that came out, they turned the 23 Russian soldiers to stone. 23 of them, and it actually happened. That's why there's so much activity over there. It is. So I'm going to go, you all. I am going to go. This is about the Valiant Thor, and they had a lot of information in there, and there's links in this, there's link in this video, this live stream, to what we read. So with that being said, what, Gina? Hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello. From my heart to yours, love you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I was 30 minutes late, or almost 45 minutes late getting on here tonight, but it's okay. There's many accounts of UFOs out there and many sightings of different types of beings that are on this earth. Some are friendly and some are not. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.